Hello, welcome back to Community. I'm Gabe from Mix 94.1, and I'm joined today by Lilly, who is the Consultation, Education, and Prevention Coordinator for StarkMHAR. Did I get that title right?
You did. You did. You did a
Okay.
great job.
Good. It is a lot of words, but all three of those things I think are very specific and very necessary. So let's just dive right in. Lilly, we're right now at the beginning of the back to school season, and it's a very different back to school season I know than I've ever seen in my life. Probably most people have ever seen in their life. Mm-hmm. And with the change in environment, the change in approach, whether students are going back to physical campuses or they're doing online learning, are you guys seeing that is really actually creating a lot of internal stress for families?
Yes. So I'm speaking both personally and professionally. Mm-hmm. I'm a parent. My kids attend schools within the Stark County District. And then I also, my professional side, I'm working with the schools. And so I know that internally parents are, do I send my kid back? Do I put them, on virtual learning? Do we go back to school? How does that look? And then there's that stressful piece where the kiddos are, we already have our kids that receive our services and they receive them in the school-based environment. And so how are they going to continue those services if parents are saying, hey, I want to keep my kid home? And so there's that stress factor there. So I know for StarkMHAR and our provider agencies, we've been working even since last year, I would say in March when all this happened, mm-hmm. How can we meet families where they're at? And so how we've been able to do that is with this upcoming school year, still providing those in-school services and also virtual sessions as well for the counseling.
Now, I'm sure it's a much different answer probably here now in September. Oh my goodness, it's September already, versus March when everything kind of started shifting. Do you find that parents now are more likely to reach out to you guys for help than maybe they were when they thought, oh, I'll just have to do this for a few weeks, or then it turned into maybe a month and now just the end of the year? I mean, now that students are still dealing with that, as you mentioned, do you find that you're getting more parents reaching out for help, not only maybe for them, but also for their children?
I think so. And I think more so to our provider agencies. Mm-hmm. A lot of our families have developed really good relationships with them. And so I think you're right on point with that question because, initially I think parents were thinking, well, we don't really know what's going to happen. And then summer will come and then, maybe this whole COVID thing will be gone.
Yeah. And fall can start as usual.
Right. We can start as usual. And it has just been a very unique year. And I do like that you brought up the point about parents and their stress and, how we can help with that and what services we have to provide for them. And so I think it's just important that all folks know that there are services within Stark County for the youth, for adults, for families, for whomever, that those services are available.
You mentioned your provider agents and these services, and I kind of want to shift a little bit to just the overall concept of counseling. Look, I believe in 2020, everybody should go see a counselor at least once a month, if not maybe a little bit more, because we all have a lot of stress. I don't think, I think we're doing a lot of work to destigmatize going to seek help through counseling or therapy, and that's going to be its own road and progression. I'm a huge advocate for seeking help when you need help. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You guys work with these school districts, and you mentioned the challenges of these students being distance learning. How has your interaction with the school districts changed since all of this happened?
I think that they have been very hands-on with us, despite the fact that we can't literally be hands-on.
Yeah.
We've always had, I would say, a really good relationship with school districts over the past few years. And so with this, we've just come alongside with them. And we base our work off of their decisions. So, right now the schools, different school districts have different plans. What Canton City's plan might look like might be different than, one of our suburban or local school districts. And so we just come alongside, and our provider agencies come alongside. So I would like to say that our communication with schools are great. You know, if they're saying that, hey, we're going to return students 2 days a week, then we work with our provider agencies, and our provider agencies have done such a great job being flexible and being able to put in clinical counselors 2 days a week. And then they've also been able to say, hey, we can do some telehealth services 3 days a week. So it's whatever the schools want. If school districts are saying we're returning 5 days a week, then we come alongside with them. We work with our provider agencies.
Yeah.
And again, our provider agencies are just very flexible, and they're great. They have been so great during this process to be flexible with the schools and to provide those services for families.
Are you hearing from your providers and you know the people that you work with? Are schools seeking more help, or is it staying about the same, whether it's telehealth or in person?
I would say that for Stark County, it's probably staying about the same. And the only reason I would say that is because we have so many services that we already provide. We have our clinical services, and we have our prevention services that are in the school districts. And we're covered in every school district except for, one local school district within the county. And so most of these school districts have a clinical provider in there every single day. So we've already had such a good relationship with them that I think, they don't really need to ask for more because we're pretty much in there.
And with all of this and those agents being available for students and as we mentioned, for even parents and caregivers for these students, how important has it become for an agency like StarkMHAR to really continue to educate the public, whether it's directly or through your agents, about how important self-care is right now? I think we're all very spread thin, and to a certain sense, I think we are starting to become a bit desensitized to everything. And when we become desensitized, I think we don't realize how much we might need help ourselves. How important has that messaging been for you and your partners?
I think it's been very important. Once this COVID, I call it the COVID situation.
Sure, that's appropriate.
Once the COVID situation happened, one thing that I really appreciated about our agency was that our marketing team really just jumped on it. Like, we have to get information out to families, and we have to let them know that they're not, by themselves. I think that folks feel, hey, I'm stressed, or I feel anxiety. They're not the only ones that feel that, right? Like, hello, we feel it too. And so one of the things that we did was we threw out some videos of, what are we doing as StarkMHAR employees for self-care. And some of those were just interacting with our families. I mean, we were all quarantined inside the home. At that time, the weather sucked pretty bad, if you can recall. So a lot of people were just stuck in the home. We didn't know what was happening. This is new for everyone. So everyone was experiencing that anxiety. And so it was really important for StarkMHAR to push out those videos. And we posted them out on social media, and we got a lot of great feedback. How to handle stress, how to deal with stress, how to interact with your kiddos, keep them off the video games and kind of come back and maybe play some board games with families and try to make this time as fun as possible. And I think it's important that we continue to do that. There's a lot of parents that are deciding, hey, I want to keep my kiddos home. How can you keep that environment stress-free? And so it's just about interacting within your family and trying to find those fun and positive things to do, as well as trying to find time to take care of yourself, For me, I just said I think it was about 2 weeks ago now, I decided I'm taking a self-care weekend. And I did. And for me, I was a little anxious myself to go out. Starting off, I have a new baby at home, and I was like, I don't want to leave the house. I don't want to leave the house. Well, I decided I'm going to take care of myself. So I went and got a massage. I went and got, my nails done. And that felt so good to get out. And obviously wearing a mask and following the protocols and doing what folks are, what we're asked to do, but also taking time for myself. And I think that's just really important that we continue to push that information out.
I think that's such a great point that you mentioned, taking time for yourself, because, whether you I guess I'll use the word loosely, a believer in therapy or counseling, or, no matter where you are on that mental health, awareness spectrum, it costs nothing to take time for yourself. It can take nothing. I mean, go for a walk every day, do something that can just be you. And I think it's so great that you bring that up, because I think a lot of people think, well, if I'm feeling anxiety or I'm feeling stress, I mean, do I have to go see somebody? It's going to be expensive. Do I have insurance to cover it? Where do I go? Some people don't even really know where to find resources for that, I think. Right. And that's still, again, part of the whole education point, which is in your title. So I'm sure you're very familiar with that. But that's just so great that you bring that up about, just taking a moment to do something that enriches yourself and really can recharge you. So Lilly, how can people access the resources of StarkMHAR, whether it's through your partners or through, StarkMHAR directly?
So I would first start with our website. And so that's starkmhar.org.
And that'll be linked below in the video, so we're good.
So there's a lot of information on our webpage. It pretty much states everything that we do, all the providers that we're connected with. If you're looking for even just some self-care tips, information about how to, have conversations with your kiddos, things like that, that information is on there. We also have, some coalitions that we have. The Stark County Suicide Coalition page, that's going to be having a lot of information coming in September. We have our Suicide Prevention Month coming up in September. So we have that page on Facebook. So you can go ahead and look for us there. We also have the StarkMHAR Facebook page. If you like that page, then you'll get updates and statuses on information and things like that. Within the schools, if you're a parent within Stark County, if you are struggling, or if you feel like your kiddo needs just someone to talk to, I kind of want to point out that, counseling sounds scary, but really it's just a conversation. I think sometimes we hear the word clinical, we hear the word mental health, we hear that counseling, and like you said, I don't know if I can pay for it, I don't know if I can do this, I don't know if I can do that. It's all about just kind of stepping out and saying, okay, this is just a conversation with someone to kind of help me get through some things, and not really put so much emphasis on the clinical piece, but just having a simple conversation and seeing how you feel after that. So as far as that information for kiddos, like I said, we're contracted with 16 of the 17 school districts. So if you have a kiddo, feel free to call your local school district, and they will connect you with a provider there that can support you and your family getting connected to the resources that you need to be connected to.
Awesome. Well, Lilly from StarkMHAR, the Consultation, Education, and Prevention Coordinator. We've got to do something to maybe shorten that a little bit, or
They call me CEP, but it's like,
okay.
Then the question is,
what does that mean? What is CEP? Right. Okay, so you're kind of stuck with it. That's perfectly fine. Thank you so much for sharing that information.
Thank you.
I think, as we said at the onset, it's so critical right now, especially when it comes to students and parents trying to be teachers and parents, or parents worrying about their students. If they are going back to school, it can be very stressful, but there are plenty of great resources. And again, you can find the StarkMHAR website below in the description, so it'll be super easy for you to get resources and help. Lilly, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.